Okay, now we have our cloth pattern cut out. We are going to sew these darts on these lines right here. So, put it in the machine on that line and just sew those real quick. So the other one on the other side. See? You're not zoomed in. Okay. Now, see, we have sewn our little darts. Now we are going to snip these corners off. We don't need those anymore. Those are our darts. Snip those little strings off. Snip the other corner off. Okay, so now we have this much. This is the inside of the mask. And I already have another one cut out that is a pretty design, and it is right here. This is the outside of the fabric, and I've already cut the darts. So now we are going to open both pieces up and put them together. We're going to put them together right sides. And so the sewn dart parts will be on the inside. So, open that up. Okay. All right. So, right sides together. Right sides together. Now, you need to pin these or clip them if you have little clips. I have clips. So I always start where the darts are and work my way out to the end. Don't worry if they're a little off at the end. You can adjust that when you get there. Trim those off. If you don't have these clips, don't worry about it. Use pins to hold your fabric in place. I'm not going to do it all the way around. I'm just going to do it on one side. Don't worry about it. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it over to the other side, line up those darts, and put a pin or a clip there. Try to get those edges as close together as you can. And because of the darts and the way the pattern is, it's going to be a little floppy. Like I said, don't worry about it. You may have to go back and just unpin that and straighten your fabric back up. Okay. Get this last side. Check my ends. Okay. We're about ready to sew these and flip them. Okay. You may have to just, I usually just constantly check while I'm sewing to make sure my ends are lined up. Okay, now let's start sewing. So there again, we have our right sides together, and we're just going to come in just a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch, and sew this top side and flip it and sew the bottom side. Move your foot, Chloe. Please move your foot. Okay. Oh, goodness, sorry. This material is just giving me a fit. Probably because I'm filming. Chloe, say hey to Aunt Sharon.
Hi.
Okay. So I'm just going to do a straight stitch about 1/4 of the way in. Take those clips out. If you have pins and they're turned the right way, you can probably just run right over them. You won't even have to take them out. Straighten it up. Make sure your edges are still lined up. This is my Brother machine, my first one. To the end, finish that edge. Okay. All right. So that is done. Now we're gonna do our other edge, and then we'll do the ends. Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I want to sew on the other. It doesn't really matter because this is the inside of the fabric. I'm just trying to be consistent. I've never made a video, so I'm sure this is terrible.
Doing good.
Okay. Just lining up my edges, make sure they stay lined up, because this fabric today is moving on me like crazy. But I think it always does. I think I'm just noticing it because I'm making a video, but I'm always having to line up those edges. Running over my darts. Still got my edges pretty much lined up. Okay. Oh, good grief. All that sewing and my bobbin is empty. Pause video. Oh my. Now we're back. Got a full bobbin. Oh my goodness. So let's sew that side again. Goodness gracious. I've already got all my pins, clips off and everything. I'm going to put at least one back because I don't want, it has to meet in the middle for sure. Okay. Okay, here we go, Chloe. All right. The good news is the bobbin ran out perfectly on the other side. Okay, so we have Both sides stuck together. I want to clip all these little strings off. Okay. Pretty sure we had enough last time we did. Okay. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and sew one of these ends and just turn it. So this one's lined up pretty good. I don't need to really trim it any. It's lined up pretty good. You can see that. So I'm going to sew this one end. And I don't necessarily need that much room to turn the other end, but I'm just gonna leave it and just turn the whole thing. And you see, we're gonna have to adjust this because it's a little bit wonky. So all I'll do is just cut that extra off. Do that before we turn it. I don't know. I can't decide. All right, I'm just gonna turn it. So, well, snip our strings. Then turn it. Okay. I just thought of a little trick. Let's go back, and someone taught me that when you have corners, before you turn those corners, 90-degree angle corners, if you will just snip off like that, snip off the corner. Don't cut your stitches, but just clip so that when you do turn it, you will have a nice square. But with that in mind, I'm going to change my mind and go ahead and sew these corners so I can do those before I flip them. But I need to trim off that extra fabric that's sticking up there. So I'm just going to do it in the air so you can see me, but it would be better, easier laying flat on the table. So see, that's going to look better. And because I want to turn and be able to snip those corners, I am going to sew a little bit here and then finish my stitch and then come over here and sew a little bit and only leave an opening in the middle to turn my fabric. Okay, line up those edges. Okay, I just sewed just a couple of inches, and I'm going to lift and I'm going to leave an opening of maybe a couple of inches and then come down here and sew this to the end. Okay, now before we turn it, we're gonna snip our threads again, all of our little scraggly threads hanging off, and snip these corners so we can have nice corners after we turn. And we didn't mess our stitches up. I wish I had sewn with a dark thread so that you could see it. I did not think of that, but I will if this video doesn't make enough sense and you need more help. Okay, so now we gotta turn it. Turn it, turn it, turn it. And sometimes when you turn your fabric, you can't reach your corners. So you can use something like a stick to poke it. This is a bamboo skewer actually that I got out of my kitchen. I'm not going to use my sharp point because it'll poke right through the fabric, which I learned the hard way. So I'm going to just poke in here and poke that corner. And see how nice and pointy it is? If we had not snipped those corners inside before we turned, it wouldn't be that nice and pointy.
I am learning so much.
Chloe says she's learning so much. So now I am poking that in there and getting a nice little corner there too. And get our mask all turned. Poke that, might as well poke it. I think it does better than my thumb. Yep, nice and pointy corner. Last corner. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, now we have our mask almost all the way done. See our nice little darts? Nice darts. And this is where we turn. So we have an open in there, which we will close it in just a minute. But first, we need to go back to the ironing board and press all of this down and make it nice and neat. Press, press, press when you're sewing. That's one of the tricks. Start filming over there. You don't have to film me walking. You don't have to film me walking. Okay. Iron back on. We're in the shadow here because I'm blocking the light. Sorry about that. So this is the underside or the inside of the mask that goes next to your face. So I'm gonna press it so that it's folded really nice and neat with just the outside edge showing. And I hope you can see this pattern because it's also a light pattern. I did not think this through when I was making this video. Okay. There's our opening. We want to make sure that's all pressed really good. Press, press, press. Now this, see how it's poking out there? I'm going to fold it better and press so that just the nice fabric is showing. Press, press, press. I hope you have a steam iron. That's going to work better for you. I guess all irons have that ability nowadays, though. Okay, press, press, press. Okay. Okay. So now we've got it all pressed. We're going to go back to the sewing machine and we're going to start here on this edge where our opening was that we turned, but we're going to start at near one of the corners, and we're going to sew all the way around this mask, but we're going to make sure that we don't go too far in sewing because we want to make sure that we catch our fabric where we folded. And we're going to go around our entire mask, and that's going to give it a nice finished edge. So here we go, back to the machine. And the light will be better. Okay, so here is our opening. I'm going to start a little below, and we're going to go around the whole mask and come back around here. Make a complete circle, but it's really a rectangle. Okay. Okie dokie. So I'm in again, not quite a fourth, I don't think. I just want to, because I want to make sure I get all my fabric, but let's go around the whole mask. Oh, it started to fold on me a little bit. Well. Okay, now see how the fabric is trying to poke out even though I pressed it? I'm just going to make sure it stays. Now, if you have your needle all the way down into your fabric and you lift up your presser foot, you can turn your fabric without losing your place or without having to pick up your needle and start over again. So we turned our fabric. Now put the presser foot back down and keep sewing. Sometimes those corners, if your fabric is thicker, it's a little hard to make that turn, and you might have to pick up your needle and move your fabric a little bit. This is thinner, so it is 100% cotton though, and washable and all that, so it's good for making masks. It's wanting to get stuck there, so I had to kind of pull it, just tug it just a tiny bit. I had to help the fabric get over that dart. The corner. Put the needle all the way down, because this time it was sticking up. So I turned the hand wheel to get the needle all the way down. Now I'm going to lift up my presser foot, but leave the needle down and turn this next corner. Turn the corner and whoops. Okay, so see, it's not wanting to turn, so I just lift my needle up and just barely move my fabric, just a tiny bit. And hopefully my needle, hopefully my thread won't break. It probably won't, but there we go. It's going. Okay. Now, got another corner. Put my needle down, lift the foot, turn the fabric. This time I'm going to try to help it go through there better. Don't want to. Okay. Now it's going. Okay. Alright, getting past that dart, you just gotta barely tug your fabric just a little bit to get it over that little bump. And keep on going. We're almost done. This is our last corner. To get back to our starting point, I ram the needle down, hold it in place. There we go. See, here's our starting point. All the way to the starting point and finish. And take it out. Okay, so the mask is just about done. Now what we're going to do is turn it over to the inside of the mask is the part that's going to be touching your face, and fold each end about 3/4 of an inch maybe. We can measure it. Let's see. Well, it's getting closer to an inch, actually. Between 3/4 and an inch. And I just kind of eyeball it. I don't pin it. Sometimes I press it if my fabric is real stiff, but you don't really have to. This is the channel that we're going to run the tie string through. Okay. Whew, that was a tongue twister. Okay, so I've got, you see, I'm folding it just about an inch. And now we're just going to sew this down. This is open. So I'm going to just sew along this edge. We've already sewn that edge. I'm going to sew it again. If I can get the fabric to move.